So welcome back to another episode of One Man and His Quad. As you can see, we're out and about. Nothing to do with this video, in fact. Just a chance to film it without a child or anything. Although I have got a dog with me. Hello, Rascal. This video is going to be about vinyl application. It was filmed back in December. It's now March, of course. So hopefully everything is still valid on it. I haven't edited the video and had a look yet, but we're going to be going in quite in depth into stuff that doesn't usually get featured on YouTube. Just want to say quickly. Make sure you like us on Facebook and also on Instagram. Details going across the bottom of the screen as I speak. But enjoy the video. If you've got any questions, because this is what I used to do for a living in terms of putting vinyl graphics onto things, so I'm quite well qualified to answer your questions. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comment box below and I will do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. So I'm going to switch to me now back in December. Hopefully not a lot has changed. The hair itself is going to look a little bit different, but that's about it. So enjoy the video, guys, and yeah, stick any comments below. Welcome back to another episode. So, of course, putting the graphics on the trailer. Now, I'm going to put some of the graphics on today. I'm not going to do all of them. And the main reason is because of the windows. I want to put the windows in, but I want to put the graphics on first, so the graphics go underneath the frame. We make a nice, neat job of them, and it's a damn sight easier than doing it the other way around when the windows are actually in and all the rivets are in place. I know that because I've done 5 or so years as a sign writer before I started doing what I'm doing now, and I know the pitfalls. I was self-taught. I made a lot of mistakes. I found out a lot of information as a result of those mistakes, and I know when doing something like a trailer how panel gaps and windows get in the way of installing the graphics. So this is the main reason why we're going to do it now. May not look it on this shot, but we've actually cleaned the trailer twice now. We haven't cleaned this top part because the top part is not where the graphics are going. It's all sort of skirt level. And what I'm going to do is do a how-to video on how to do this, because I've seen a lot of videos online telling people to do things which aren't necessarily correct. When you're doing graphics, it's a really important thing to start with is a clean base you're applying them to, whether that's going to be on a vehicle with paint, whether it's going to be on a blank substrate or a substrate like this which has already been covered in vinyl. It's really important. Cleanliness is key if you want a good result, and there's a couple of reasons why. You don't want obviously any dust underneath the vinyl because that's going to show up. It's going to magnify on some colours like anything. The second reason is the glues used on these vinyls are quite specialist in the way they're constructed, so you don't want any dirt underneath it because it may result in the vinyl not sticking, what we call in the trade a fail. First thing you need to do then is thoroughly wash whatever you are putting vinyl on. Now when I say that, that can be a signboard, it can be a vehicle, and just wash it in the usual way you would. What I wouldn't use is any car shampoos with wax or agents in that enhance the look of the paintwork. It's a bugbear of mine. Tell my customers to wash my car beforehand you come, and they say, oh, I've waxed it as well or I've polished it. It takes a lot of time. You don't want any polish or any wax on the actual substrate itself. The best thing to use if you don't have any car wash at hand which doesn't have any of these things in is go to the kitchen and get the washing up liquid, because that's the best thing. You're trying to get all the dirt and the grease off, and washing up liquid, as long as it doesn't have any fancy stuff in again, is the best degreaser you can use. Once you've let it dry thoroughly, now what I would do is wash it and then dry it with a cloth, because what you're doing there is you're washing it. The washing process obviously removes all the dirt, or is meant to remove all the dirt. The cloth will actually remove all the dirty water that is left on. You don't want to let this necessarily air dry, because all you're doing is letting dirty water dry on whatever you're applying the vinyl to. Second stage, get yourself some of this. It's white vinegar. It's used in cleaning for glass, bathrooms, etc. You can buy that at your local hardware store. I'm sure some supermarkets also stock this. I've had this years, this bottle, as you can tell. bit untidy, but I get a big 5 litre drum of it and just decant what I need into that. White vinegar, best natural cleaner you can get. Don't be tempted, if you are going to try and use an alternative, to use something like this. This is a window cleaner from Wilko, any window cleaner, though you'd think because it smells similar, it's going to have the same products in. Unless the main ingredient in that is white vinegar, steer clear of this. I've checked the ingredients on the back. Antiseptic, I can't tell because I say it's been in the path of a spray gun once in its life, and but it's got some anti-static agent in, which is the main ingredient. So save that for your windows. Always use white vinegar instead. When you're purchasing your vinyl, it's always good to have a look, especially when you go through a website. I wouldn't buy vinyl off eBay because you don't know a couple of things. A, the quality of the vinyl you're getting, and B, how long it's been sat. Vinyl has a shelf life. It has a shelf life when it's on the shelf, also has a life when it's on and applied. The shelf life of vinyl is around, it's sort of around 2 to 3 years depending on the product. Every product has a different shelf life. You will tell if a vinyl's been sat for a long time is when you purchase it. If you look at the edge of the rolls, you'll be able to see the white backing paper on most cases. And that's when a vinyl has basically shrunk or has tried to shrink back to its original form. There are a few types of vinyl out there: monometric, polymetric and cast. On here, and what I'm using on the graphics today, is cast. It's the most expensive type of signed vinyl you can get, and that starts life as a liquid. The other two, the monometric, the polymetric, start life as a solid. Cast is the only one that will not try and go back to its original form. Okay, so that's well worth remembering. It is double the price usually of most signed vinyls. You buy signed vinyls in meters, but it's worth it for a project like this where it's going to be staying on the vehicle for a long time. You want it to look good quality. The disadvantages with cast, as well as cost, is the fact they are a lot thinner than your other vinyls. So if you're starting out in this, personally I would use a thicker vinyl. If you can find a thicker cast, brilliant. If not, go for the polymetric and monometric vinyls because they are slightly thicker and they actually feel thicker. Once it's on the vehicle or whatever you're applying it to, it's going to have a life on there as well. And as you'd expect, the cheaper vinyls, shorter life. The cast vinyls, longer life. You can buy wrapping films as well. That's going into your 20 to 30 pounds a metre. Quite a lot of money for this sort of thing. Obviously, you can buy different finishes. Cast vinyl comes in both gloss and matte. Different companies offer different types of cast vinyl. It's just well worth doing your research, but I would always go through a trusted vinyl supplier. There are vinyl suppliers out there that will also supply to the public as well as trade. I'll try and add some in the description below to where you can get vinyl from some good suppliers that I've used in the past that are really customer friendly. You will find the cheaper end of the vinyls are available for the public, whereas some of the casts aren't available on public sale. It's just the way it is. It's just the way the industry works. Whilst you're on there though, have a look at some materials you may need, including a squeegee, which is in the pocket actually. One of these. Our window squeegee. People call this a scraper. It's not a scraper. It's not used for scraping. It's used for applying vinyl. You'll notice that we've got a hard edge. We've also got a soft edge. Now, a lot of squeegees now come with this soft edge already fitted. Buy one with a soft edge fitted. The reason I say that is it stops it scratching the vinyl, quite simply. And this is the tool for the job. Okay. Don't try and use anything else. You can also buy rollers and stuff like that if you want to. They're additional extras, but I say go for a signed supplier to buy your vinyl, because not only will you get the accessories, you'll be able to purchase this stuff. This stuff is alcoholic based cleaner. Don't try and use your alcohol gel from when you're doing your hands for COVID, because it doesn't work quite as well. This is the third stage of the cleaning flow process if you've been following. So we've washed it, we've put the white vinegar on, and we've dried that off also. Remember, every stage you remove the agent that's on the vehicle because you're removing the dirt. Again, if you let the white vinegar evaporate, all you're going to do is evaporate and that dust is still going to be on there. Get it off the actual the vehicle. This is your first stage, and this is just before you apply the vinyl. Again, go over it. Again, wipe it off. You may want to do this process a couple of times though. This basically takes off and makes sure the substrate you're applying to is squeaky clean. Now, we have that phrase, when your glass is clean, it will squeak. Same with vinyl, especially the gloss stuff. It will squeak like glass when it's absolutely clean of any contaminants on there, and that includes grease and stuff. So that's what you want. That's the aim, to get it clean. In the workshop today, it's about 5 degrees. This is an important point, that when you're applying vinyl, 5+ degrees is the optimum temperature for when you're doing this thing. Any colder, I would say, don't do it on that day. Come back another day and do it. The reason is the glue is activated on both pressure and it needs to be warm. It doesn't mean to be hot. A lot of people say, well, do you use a heat gun? Yes, we do, but in certain aspects of the job. The glue needs to be warm in order to stick. Try applying vinyl in sub-zero temperatures. It just won't stick because you've got the moisture in the air. You've also got the condensation falling on, especially on these gloss panels and glass. You're going to have condensation all over that in really cold temperatures. You won't be able to work fast enough in order to get the condensation wiped off and get the vinyl applied, because it's just the way the material is designed and it works, and all the science behind it. So that's what you want. You want +5 temperatures. If it is feeling a bit cold like it is today, grab yourself, I haven't got it at hand, heat gun, just heat the area. I've also got, it's probably annoying the hell out of you like it is me every time I look at it I go blind. Nice big lamp there. 2 reasons for that. Obviously, one, giving me great vision and great light, because if that wasn't on I wouldn't do it, because it's just so dull in here today. It is December. Second, that kicks out a hell of a lot more heat than you think it does. So it's actually warming the surface, it's warming the area. So if you can keep your workshop warm, if you can keep it dust free, even better. If we're working within boundaries today, it's not going to be dust free in here. So we're just going to do our best. And obviously make sure yourself is comfortable. Get yourself a little pad to kneel on, etc. if you're doing low work. Decent ladder which is set properly if you're doing high work, etc, etc, etc. So that's how we set this up. I'm going to try and take some footage of me applying the vinyl, and I'm not going to talk whilst doing it. I'll do a sort of talk over it when this has all been edited on the computer, but in order to give me the chance to concentrate, I'll do the work, film it, and then do a bit of narration over the top of it. So hope you find this video quite informative, and I'll see you on the other side, and hopefully this thing will look a little bit different. So what I'd like to do also before we start is just make a mental note of any problem areas. Obviously this door is open for now. I've got some clamps holding a bit of wood which is drying, but just some problem areas. So we've got the hatch and the door opening there, which is raised, so that's going to cause a problem. Also these rivets along here could cause potential problems. I don't think there's anything in particular about the rivets the other side, it's all the same. So just go along and, I'll say, make a note in your head of where your problem areas are going to be, because we're going to try and tackle those as soon as possible. So as I say, time for the main event, and we're going to put the grey graphics on the side of the trailer as I wander into shot. This footage has been sped up, by the way, so if I'm walking slightly faster than you expect and doing things slightly faster than you expect, that's why. What you can see on the side of the trailer is the grey graphic, which was cut out on a piece of vinyl, one piece of vinyl, which was 50 centimetres, so ½ a metre in width, and 2 metres or so long, so quite a big graphic to manhandle. You'll see a cut sort of in the middle of the screen. That's where I've cut it in half down the central line of the trailer. And what I'm doing now is putting those 2 parts and applying them separately. So we've actually split it up. We're going to split it up into 4 sections. You can see I'm removing the masking tape now and the backing paper. The stuff that looks like masking tape is in fact application tape. Very, very similar. A lot less tacky and a lot less permanent than masking tape, and it comes in various widths of rolls. And if you are going to cut your own graphics out, you are going to need some of this in order to mount them, unless you're just doing whole sheets of vinyl. So anything like lettering or graphics in this case, you're going to need that application tape. Now I'm removing the application tape, and what you see on the left hand side, which I'm just about to cut now, is the backing paper. I'm getting rid of half of that, and what we've created with the masking tape underneath that is what we call a hinge. Now I'm folding it over and using the squeegee
to push any air out, and I work from the center to the outside. You're not trying to trap any air within that graphic itself. And once that side is down, I'm going to do exactly the same as the other side. So basically the first part of the graphic, the first third of the graphic has formed the hinge, and now I am taking the second third of the backing paper off the graphic. Sometimes the vinyl sticks to the paper, the lining paper, so you need to sort of tease it all off. As you can see there, I'm just putting a little bit of masking tape just to make sure it doesn't fold back on itself until I'm ready to lift it back over, which I'm doing now. Placing it down, sealing the edge, and then as you can see I'm working right from that original mounting point where the masking tape was a couple of minutes ago, and working my way around and pushing all the air out. With the finished product, you will see the graphic is quite broken up, so there are plenty of areas within the actual graphic itself for the air to escape. So that's the first part on. So as you can see, the application tape is still on top. Obviously just getting something here off shot. But as you can see, when it moved, the second half of the graphic, the bit nearest to the camera, is actually still just placed on the actual trailer with the masking tape. So that's going to be the second half to go on. All I'm doing now is using a very sharp Stanley knife to make a nice clean cut, trimming any excess that I don't need. I know that they're not going to be required, so that's going to be overlapping onto the frame of the trailer. And also just cutting around the windows, so getting rid of the stuff that's overlapping the windows. Like I said in the introduction, we're not going to put the windows in till after we put the graphics on, just to make a nice neat job. That's now scrap, getting rid of all that. Using a roller there, I mentioned that in the introduction as well as an optional extra, just a nice tool to get in between the edges, get nice and close to the edges. And now I am removing the backing paper, sorry, the application paper, not the backing paper, the application paper, to reveal the finished graphic. As you can see, sometimes it doesn't quite stick, especially the stuff that goes over the edges. I haven't trimmed really close to the edges. I will finish that off with a Stanley knife. Just trimming up some pieces there. So all I'm doing is trimming the overlapping parts which are going through the hole in the window. A lot easier to do it once the application paper is off. Taking the little strip at the back between the window and the back of the trailer off now. As you can see, I'm folding it back on itself. Basically, I'm putting pressure, anything that's lifting as I'm pulling it off, I'm just putting the application paper back on like there and placing the graphic back on until it sticks. So obviously looking for a knife there in my pocket, it's useful to have either a belt, tool belt on, or trousers and a jacket on with lots of pockets in order to store the equipment you're going to need. You don't want to be doing this and then realising you don't have a specific tool you need for this task, so always have stuff at hand. A slightly awkward bit, get rid of the application paper. Of course that will be cleared up afterwards. The backing paper on these vinyl sheets, by the way, can be really slippy, so when you are doing application of graphics, don't put these in the way of what you're doing, because they are quite slippy and you are prone to slip over them. I've gone flying on those in the past. You know, when you're rushing around doing something, trying to get to somewhere to do something very fiddly, so always work safely. As you can see, a few of the graphics are coming off. That's fine because it's sort of an abstract design, as you'll see next. Just last little bit come off.
There it is. Told you there was something else going to go on top of it. The weather is pants, so the light's not great, but look at how the orange just complements the grey and the petrol blue there. I'm in love with this. if I don't say so myself. Now, in case you're wondering, obviously, if you've never watched a weather forecast, that's a pressure map in the orange, and the grey bits, although looking very abstract, are in fact actually a trace of the coastline here in North Devon. And by just randomly picking bits out, it's created this pattern. So there is sort of a story behind it, as it were. But that's one side done. I'm in love with this. I really do like it. I just love the way it's just lifted this whole trailer, and it takes your eye away from little things like that, which we haven't quite finished off yet.
And that's it, another episode done and dusted. Don't forget to check us out on the socials on both Facebook and Instagram. And if you need any more tips, ask me a question in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the links if you want to order your vinyl from trusted suppliers. And I'll catch you next time on One Man and His Quad.